Linda understood that she simply couldn't make it. Today, the market was so good that she couldn't resist and decided to buy a lot of fruit. Of course, I bought it. But to get there, you'll have to take a taxi. She walked through the market and looked for a place where she could drop off all the bags and finally pull out the phone. As soon as she saw such a convenient place, a young man who jumped out of the store almost knocked her package off her feet, and some of the package tore. And Linda screamed. Robert rushed to help and collect fruit. He had a fight with his father once again and ran out into the street too quickly. He understood that it was market day, that there were a lot of people, but he carried it all because of the psychos without looking at anyone. Please forgive me. I'm not at all attentive. As soon as it's all done, drag it all out and load it into a taxi. Let me help you. It's not far from my car here, but at least somehow I'll atone for my guilt. Robert looked at the girl and he wanted to shout, "Agree." The girl was very beautiful. It seemed like simple jeans, a t-shirt, not an ounce of makeup, but she smelled of something delicate. There were completely different girls around Robert, but he didn't want to compare, seeing that the girl was thinking. He hastened to say, "My name is Robert. I'm not a maniac at all." The girl laughed. "Are you reading my mind? I'm Linda, by the way." They walked to his car, put all the purchases, and Linda commanded, "Where?" The girl gave the address and they drove off. "Tell me, won't I seem impudent to you if I invite you to the cinema?" Linda replied, "Don't show yourself. I really can only do it on Saturday. It's great that you can do it at all. I'm really looking forward to Saturday." They drove up to the house and Robert whistled. "You have nothing to do with it, mansion. Do you live here?" "Yes, my parents bought this house not so long ago, literally 3 months ago." "Your parents are so rich." "Sorry." "Yes, it doesn't matter." Linda disappeared behind the gate, and Robert drove towards the house. An hour ago, he had a fight with his father because he did not give him money for a trip to the sea with friends. "You understand, we have a lot of work now. There are 4 stores, and I'm alone. My father got angry. It's always just money, money, money. If you don't want it, then apparently you don't want the money either. So you don't need them? You won't give them? Why does he work, and you don't want the money?" Robert ran out into the street, and Linda was there. He had just reached home when the phone beeped. SMS about enrollment. Father sent money. Robert had already decided that he would not go anywhere. In the evening, my father was surprised. "I found my son at home. Why didn't you leave? I transferred the money to you." "Dad, I changed my mind. And today is Tuesday. I can help you until Saturday." "Are you serious?" "I'm glad. It's really very difficult for me to keep up with everything alone." After Robert's mother passed away in his life, he and his father did not have a very warm relationship, purely mutually beneficial. Although it was beneficial for Robert, what his father felt never interested him. He told his father that he had met a beautiful girl. "They have such a huge house. I think they're millionaires. What if Linda is banned from seeing me?" "Well, first of all, we don't know what kind of millionaires they are. 1 million is also a million, but it doesn't mean anything. And then, why did you decide that? Maybe they are quite adequate people." Robert thought about it. Then he said, "You see, Dad, it's strange to have such a house. It's clear that people have a lot of money, but why then does their daughter run to the market herself, buy food, and carry it home? It's a little strange, don't you think?" "You're right here. It's an inconsistency." "Well, we'll wait and see on Saturday." Linda came out in a minute. She was wearing a light dress, in which she looked even more beautiful. "Linda, you are simply charming." "Thank you very much." They spent a wonderful evening, went to the cinema, to the cafe. Robert felt so good that on the very first evening he decided never to let her go. All that was left was to wait a while to propose to her. He told his father everything. "Well, we probably need to meet for a while, get to know each other better. It wouldn't hurt to find out at least something about the family. Somehow, everything is too unclear. It's been 2 months now." Robert couldn't wait any longer. He proposed to Linda. The girl jumped on his neck. "Linda, we need to meet your parents." She seemed scared. "Robert, come on later." They left anyway, and I don't know when they'll return, but it's somehow wrong. "Yes, everything is fine, really." "Okay, we'll decide later." We went to the registry office to submit an application. In the evening, Robert left her at the gate and went home. Something tugged at his soul. It's just that he didn't understand. And in front of the house, he sharply pressed the brake. He realized that Linda had a last name, and the people who lived in the house had different last names. Now this is where it gets really interesting. Why is Linda so reluctant for him to meet her parents? In the evening, they talked with their father. He said thoughtfully, "Look at them, how they communicate. Linda categorically does not invite you to visit." "No," and he says that his parents left. "I don't know what to think. Can you lend me a messenger uniform? I'll get inside like a courier." "Well, I'll look at all this." The idea is not bad, but suddenly it is dangerous. 3 days later, Robert bought 2 tickets to a concert, put them in an envelope, and went to Linda's house. It was impossible to recognize Robert. The girls in their father's store did their best. He was wearing not only a courier's uniform, but also a wig, glasses, and even a large mole on his cheek and a mustache. He entered, stopped at the threshold of the house to wait for the owners, and almost immediately saw Linda. She is wearing a white apron. The maids were wiping and dusting the shelves. A woman, very thin and sickly, approached Robert, silently signed her name, and looked at Robert. "Something else?" No, thanks." Robert rushed out of the house. Now everything is clear to him. Robert was deceiving him. But why? He wandered the streets for a long time, then finally returned home. His father was waiting for him. "Well, Dad?" "She's no daughter at all. There's a maid there." Linda called in the evening. "Hi, where have you gone?" "Linda, tell me when your parents will be home. Something happened. Don't you think it's strange that the wedding is coming soon? And Dad and I don't know your family." Linda hesitated. Robert also said, so as not to listen to any more lies, "I was with you today. I know that your parents are at home, but what kind of parents are they to you? Do you also work as a maid?" "So, I was not mistaken. I heard your voice. Okay, tomorrow at 5 I'm expecting you and your father to visit." Linda passed out. Robert didn't have time to say anything. Now everything is completely confused. What kind of guest if she is a maid? Dad said, "Mine, let's go in the end. You are my son, and I also want to figure all this out." A surprised guard opened the door for them, but Linda immediately appeared on the porch and waved her hand to him. She invited them in. The owners of the house were in the large room. The man was very unhappy. "Linda, I don't understand what's going on, and if you don't explain everything now, you'll be fired." "Don't worry, Mr. Smith. I won't be working for you tomorrow anyway." The hostess looked at her in surprise, but remained silent. "I understand that everything is here. There are no explanations, so I'll start from the very beginning. 23 years ago, a child was born into this family, not entirely wanted, because this child is like a bone in Mr. Smith's throat. He married the heiress of $1 million fortune just to get money. Jocelyn, his young wife, was ill, and Mr. Smith hoped that very soon he would be in charge of all the money. But what do you allow yourself?" The owner of the house got angry, but the wife said, "Wait, Jake. I'll call the police now." Linda nodded. "Call. I think that not only Jocelyn will be interested to know that her child is alive." The hostess turned pale and sat down in a chair. Mr. Smith rushed towards her. "Honey, everything is fine." She pushed him away, and Linda continued. Mr. Smith paid all the staff, and until his wife came to her senses, he took the babies out of the bags and left them at the nearest trash heap. He told his wife that the child had died. Maybe Jocelyn will get to the bottom of something, but she became depressed. By the way, Mr. Smith helped this by constantly feeding her pills. Only Mr. Smith's hopes were not justified. An elderly man found the bag and took it home. For a year, they did not inform anyone about the find, and then they still had to. He and his wife did not. There were children, and the girl became their child. I looked for you for a long time, delved into this matter for a long time. I got a job here to take revenge, but when I saw my mother, I realized that she did not deserve revenge. I don't know how much longer all this would last, but I also met Robert. Falling in love was never part of my plans, but it happened. I told him the truth, not to impress, but to push myself to confess. Forgive me, Robert, if you can." The girl fell silent, and Jocelyn stood up. She did not look at her husband, but walked up to Linda, who handed her a folder with papers. "Here are all the certificates and test results. This is what they told me at that clinic." The wife turned to her husband. "Why are you staring? I married you. You were going to die every day, but you never did. You deceived me. Do you really think that I could love someone like you? And you won't prove anything." Jocelyn began to fall. Robert's father rushed to her. and Mr. Smith took advantage of the panic and rushed out of the house. Mr. Smith was jailed, and 2 months later, Lindy and Robert had their wedding. It was beautiful and loud, and Linda was the only bride to have 2 mothers and 1 father. And when the holiday was in full swing, Linda whispered in her young husband's ear, "Look at your mom and your dad. Don't you think anything is wrong?" Robert smiled. Not only did he notice, but this morning his father came to talk to him. "Son, there's this thing. Your Linda asked recently. Looks like it's my turn. Do you think if I propose to Jocelyn, it won't look like you? Not modern, or what?"